So I that's one of the things I love about bear hunting is it can be anything you want.
Yes.
It's really like your choice and option, of
Well,
how you want to do it.
I mean, you can hunt them. We've done the Alaska deal off a boat on the shore. We've done it in the mountains. I mean, and then you throw in some of the fall and winter stuff that happens across the country too, and then you get into things like baiting and hounds, and all sorts of ways to hunt bears, which
Yeah.
some are more, like a delicate topic than others. You get a dog involved or bait involved, people lose their minds. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Fair Chase podcast. Today feels like spring here in Michigan. It's warmer, the sun's been out, which is rare for us lately. And that means I'm starting to think about spring activities, turkey hunting and bear hunting, which
Amen.
is spring bear hunting has quickly become one of my favorite things to do. Just hunting, especially going out west because of the lack of people. And you finally get out after being kind of cooped up for a while and everything. And so, with that in mind, I thought I would have Kolby Morehead on from the Bear Hunter magazine. So, Kolby, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'm looking
You
forward to
ready?
talking about some spring bear.
That's right. I figured you guys. I mean, your weather is not so unbearably cold. You're in Arkansas, right?
Yeah, we're here in Northwest Arkansas. It has been, but today, like yesterday, it was in the 50s and people were wearing shorts. And then today, I think it's closer into the 60s and
Oh,
it's feeling good outside. Yeah. But we've had snow the last, like, majority of this last week and some freezing weather. And it's that type of cold that, like, grabs a hold of you and slaps you.
I
That
mean,
real humid cold.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. There's like sometimes the temps can be low, but it can be kind of dry or whatever and not so windy and it's not that bad. But like a cold, wet day is rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
No.
right. Well, so you're kind of the man behind the scenes of the Bear Hunter Hunting magazine. Like I had told you prior to the podcast, I had found out about you just having Clay on years ago when he was with the Bear Hunter magazine and got to know him, had a great podcast. You guys can go check it out if you want. You do have to do some searching. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But had basically followed you since I know you took over. And so yeah, tell me about
Yeah.
that. Like how long have you been there? Tell me about the
Yeah.
magazine.
No, so I moved here to Arkansas to help Clay with the magazine back in I started working with him March of 2019 and for a couple of years until everything happened with Meat Eater and it was clear that he couldn't do both and that they were needing him more and more. And so, long story short, we discovered the best thing to do was for me my wife and I to acquire the magazine, you know,
Yeah.
and which was something that I wasn't really important with. Like you said, like I was always the guy in the background, like I was, doing all the filming, all the business stuff, all the fulfillment, all of those things. And so, and the fun thing about the business was just working with my buddy. And so it was kind of like it was an exciting new thing, but it was also like oh man,
Yeah. Right.
this was fun. But it's ended up being a really great thing, for just me and my family. And now we're coming to the point to where we decided that at first, just to make sure I had a firm grasp on design, everything that it is, that we have to do, because I do the whole layout and everything inside of the magazine. And we wanted to make sure we had the core things solid and that it was something that was manageable before I started, like, popping up and um being seen more. And then also, like, we want to take a few years for me to get experiences where I'm not just talking out, you know tongue in cheek. Like, we wanted to for me to get experiences and be able to talk from experience, not from a point of just knowledge, and
Right.
really get immersed into.
Experiential.
Yeah, and so we really wanted to go after that slow growth mentality of, I don't want to just be one that's just casting out information. It's like I want something to connect that information and knowledge to.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, I even though, like, we acquired the business or bought the business back in 2021, we've kind of been a little quiet, and it's just like slow growth behind the scenes, and just going out there and immersing ourselves into the world rather than, just coming and being a voice,
Yeah, right. Like,
of just regurgitating things that we've learned from others.
yeah, you have your own thing to add and your own information. And yeah, this episode is brought to you by 2O Gear, innovators in technical hunting clothing. 2O is a newer company. It's based right here in Michigan. And whether you're hunting elk in the mountains or chasing antelope in the plains or traipsing through swamps after that ruddy buck, 2O has you covered with premium jackets and pants, merino wool layers, everything you could possibly need to stay comfortable in the woods. Their products are engineered for functionality and durability, ensuring you stay protected in any conditions. Plus, their camo is really effective. We're big fans. So don't take our word for it, though. Go to 2ogear.com and check it out. There's just so much of that, too, on social media. It's like, well, 5 ways that you could become a better bear hunter. And it's like, well, clearly have never done that before, because, like, generally speaking, the information is good, but practically it doesn't seem like you've done that,
Yeah, it's funny if I mean we're talking, I think we're talking spring bear hunting on this one, but one of the things that you'll fall into, one of the traps, is that all spring bear hunting is the same. I mean, and like you can go up north, and go up in the boreal forest and bear hunt with outfitters in the spring, and I think that's a great first bear hunting experience. Like it really teaches you an appreciation for them as a species, just as like you start seeing the individual characters. You start realizing it's like there's something special about every bear, and every bear is different, the way that they come in, the way that they interact with each other. You got some out there that are Karens, you got some out there just like, her name could be Betty, and she's, just super, chilling to herself and sweet. Like
that's what makes them so fun to watch, because they could do anything. You don't know their background. So when they walk out, it's like that thing could be, going to like ripping apart like a log, or just laying, or I was just telling somebody the other day, watching a bear lay on his belly and just scoop grass into his mouth like of the laziest fatty on the side of the mountain. And it's just amazing how they're all so different. Like you can watch a bear for a long time, and you don't necessarily, watch like a doe like the same way, like expecting anything.
Yeah. And they're so lazy, but there's an asterisk beside that laziness.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna go the easiest way possible, but it's nothing for a bear to just scale something that takes us forever. Like they can change elevations in a flash, and it's like nothing to them. Like when you go out west and you're glassing them, and you're just looking at the things that they're doing. I mean, there was a bear last year I hunted Southern Oregon with 2 of my really good buddies, and we were kind of in that coastal area. And typically, in the spring, like they're starting to work out of the cliffs, but we were still seeing bears in cliff areas, and it's like, this bear was only 300 yards away, but we were like, we're not shooting this bear because we don't know if we can even get to him because it's so dramatic. He's safe there. And yeah, but back to the spring situation, like in the West, you would always get trapped into this thought of thinking that you have to do an intense backcountry hunt for bears in the West, and really that's the trend of the season. Like that's the hunts that people share most of the time. If you're reading media or watching stuff, like guys want to go back and pack back for several days, and just they choose to do a suffer fest, when all actuality most bear hunts are typically, especially people that live in those areas, are road-based hunts where you're in a truck most of the time, you go out, you glass an area, and the key to your success is being mobile and covering a lot of um just a lot of area, and
driving around. I've done it. I did it. I just am thinking of one I had done with Joe a couple of years ago, where it's like we did the backcountry thing, and we were a little early and just struggled. So we found this place in this state that we thought maybe it would have bears and it was closer to civilization, and even a dump was somewhere near, and it was like, I wonder if they're down there. And so we did some driving, and sure enough, found one driving, and then, made a play on it. And so, yeah, there's part of that, like, you want the romantical, like, you go deep into the backcountry, you live out of your backpack, and you do the whole thing, which is, I mean, that's my favorite way to do it, just because it's so cool and fun.
Yeah.
But to get a bear, I mean, you can either do a lot of driving or you can do a lot of walking on, old dirt roads.
Well, and one of the things is that keeps popping into my mind recently is there's just so many different ways that people, like methodologies that people use when they're hunting bears, and whether it's particularly in the West, because you have guys that are dedicated to one spot. They'll go back deep or some amount of, distance. They'll sit on one drainage or like some land feature, and they will sit there day after day after day, and they refuse to move. They're more of like it's kind of a hybrid of steel hunting and like a Western, what you think type of hunt. And then you have other guys that'll go and they'll give a spot, like maybe like 3 events. So like a dawn, a dusk, and a dawn, and move on. And some guys will go and they'll glass for a couple of hours, and if they don't see anything, they'll move on to the next drainage or whatever. And a lot of that's just because in the spring, bears don't typically cover a ton of space. Like, they are relatively pretty tight. I mean, 2 or 3 years ago, we were in western Montana, and we were glassing an area, and this was one time we glassed from where we were spot camping, and instead of going out to our normal things, because we had this crazy like winter storm just like in that early spring.
Yeah.
And we were probably only a few hundred yards up from where that storm hit. So like if you went a little bit further down in elevation, we'd have been in the clear.
Yeah.
But instead of going out like we typically would to spot different areas, we just glassed from camp. And in the midst of all that snow and everything, we saw a bear working a switchback equal to our elevation, and over there probably, I mean, we were having to pull out our spot and scopes to really like see him. I mean, he was probably 3/4 of a mile to a mile over there.
Yeah.
And we ended up killing that bear. I think it was a day or two later. It was either the next day or the day after on the morning, and he was working that same road, and he had probably only gone, like a mile, like he was just meandering.
Right.
And
yeah, they stay so tight, especially because, I mean, once they find that good food, they want to stick with it till it's gone, and then follow the green up.
Yeah, 100%. And then, but that hunt in particular really brought me to a point of thinking about how I plan a Western hunt. And a lot of it is based upon what kind of work I put in ahead of time. Like I come up with this concept of I'm pretty good at feats of strength. And so if I'm not really in great shape, if I haven't built up my endurance, the ability for my body to recover and adjust very quickly, then it's like I'm good for like one day of really hard stuff. and then I'm shot, and so for that, it's like either a hunt where I'm going to pat back and stay specific to one particular area, and pretty much like glass from close to camp works, because I'll typically have a day or two of recovery while I'm glassing. The other thing is like a car-based or truck-based hunt.
OnX is the title sponsor of our podcast here at the Fair Chase, and it's a must-have app for all of us who love to explore the outdoors. Whether you're hunting or hiking or fly fishing, OnX gives you detailed, accurate maps right at your fingertips. With property boundaries, topographical features, and trail data, you'll always know where you are and where you're headed. You'll also likely be able to figure out where that big buck is headed to. Plus, their offline maps mean you're covered even in the most remote locations. OnX is the ultimate tool for outdoor navigation, making every adventure safer and more enjoyable. Download OnX today and explore with confidence.
I can go out, I can glass, do a lot of like, I'm not packing anything. And then once I get an animal down, then the moment of truth, it's like I've saved up that feat of strength for a really hard pack out, But if I'm not used to that, my body's going to take a lot longer to recover. And I think most people, as long as you have some mental toughness, most guys can handle a feat of strength versus
Right.
like
You'd get it over with, do that
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah. And so I that's one of the things I love about bear hunting is it can be anything you want.
Yes.
It's really like your choice and option, of
Well,
how you want to do it.
I mean, you can hunt them. We've done the Alaska deal off a boat on the shore. We've done it in the mountains. I mean, and then you throw in some of the fall and winter stuff that happens across the country too, and then you get into things like baiting and hounds, and all sorts of ways to hunt bears, which
Yeah.
some are more, like a delicate topic than others. You get a dog involved or bait involved, people lose their minds.
Man,
Which is
that's
so
a
funny.
guarantee. I'll tell you, like those hound guys, you need to be in better shape with them than you do on a hard Western hunt. Like
Mhm.
uh, m- he might look like he's never worked out a day in his life, but he will show you something on those mountains.
I love it too. It's like, yeah, we've done that, and we did a December hunt in I think it was December in West Virginia a couple of years
Yeah.
ago, and it was that. And I remember thinking, like, I can't believe how fast these dudes are moving through these West Virginian mountains,
Yeah.
and how much the dogs can go. But we're just coming off a mountain lion film that we're doing with dogs, and
Oh yeah.
anything hound related. It's like you guys, like, this has been just been done for so long. You thinking that you suddenly are, and most of the time they've never hunted bears, and much less with a dog. That you suddenly know better than thousands and thousands of years of people doing this. Probably one of the oldest man animal relationships
Mhm.
in history, and a great management tool, and a hard hunt, and hounds that have been trained all year round and love it. All these things that make it this fantastic hunt. People, the first comment we get was from a hunter. Oh, it's BS. You're doing that, blah, blah, blah. It's like, holy cow, man. Like,
Yeah.
we cannot figure out ways to be on the same team a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And we find ways where your way of hunting that I've never tried before is the worst way. And the way that I do it, which is pretty uninformed, and I've only done it like once, is somehow better than yours. I looked at, of course, the guy gets this one guy I'm thinking of, looked through his pictures, and if he ever has bear hunted, he has not been successful because he posted other things and other dead animals and no bear. And it's like, all right, you can't speak to it. You can't go and be fine with labs for ducks or hounds for rabbits, like beagles for rabbits, and not hounds for bigger animals that have claws like lions and bears.
Mhm.
So just the inconsistencies that I've seen, it's wild. And I think bears lend itself to that because, to your point, not only can you hunt them in a ton of different ways, but they are like Winnie the Pooh and Baloo the bear, and this thing that, Disney has nerfed over the years that somehow is like a taboo thing.
And the mountain lion is Tigger too.
Yeah, exactly. The mountain lion is too. Why would you do that? You would never. And like everybody is like, well, you would never eat a bear. You'd never eat a mountain lion. Why would you even hunt it? And it's like you're starting your argument from a false point of view, where it's like you're assuming that people don't eat these things and haven't for. I mean, look at the bear impact on the U.S. economy when our nation was in its infant state,
Yeah.
and how important bear was.
Yeah, especially the oil.
Yeah, the oil is amazing. You got some behind you there at all? So
Man,
I see it next to that
I got
skull.
I got a ton. Yeah.
Is that why you're not bald?
Huh? No, no, this is natural. I'm waiting until I need to use it. I'm storing it up. We actually, in the March, April issue coming out, we have a wildlife biologist or wildlife vet named Jen Ballard, and she writes a great column for us talking about different aspects of bear biology or just like stuff from research that she finds. And there's actually, um, So I just read it last week. I'm not like a student of it yet, but there's actually scientific truth to the whole hair growth thing.
Is there?
Because yeah. And so I'll send you a copy of the article after this, but it talks about there's a specific thing inside of the bear fat that is also used for like hair regrowth and stuff. Like now she's not saying like for sure it'll work, but she's saying like there is a scientific backing to this, being a potential thing, of
Those old school remedies. Oh, wait, like we've in our high-minded, enlightened worldview have like cast them all off as totally irrelevant. But it seems like more and more we're realizing, well, I guess they did do these things for a reason based on some things that they saw over a long period of time, of observing. But yeah, so bear hunting is interesting. I would imagine you get tossed into that a lot. As I think I've heard, you guys are the only bear hunting publication. Is that right?
Yeah. Like bear hunting will be included in different publications here and there, but we're the only ones that are dedicated to it. And it really, I mean, it's really the only holistic way to view bear hunting because there's so much content. And so there's so many different ways to hunt them. Like in every issue, we try to put something for a spot and stalk guy, something for a bait guy, usually something from Alaska because it kind of seems to be its own thing.
Sure.
And then we'll put something in there for the hound guys. And so that really is something that there's just so much content that I stuff it in as tight as I can, while still preserving like telling the story visually as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, kids will go and pull the magazine out of the mailbox before their parents a lot of
For
times.
sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, and we keep it clean and everything. I'm trying to find let's see. So like I just looked up this article about the bear fat and the hair growth, and she said in light of the modern science, this one may hold merit about using bear oil uh for hair growth. She said the linoleic acid from other sources has been shown to stimulate specialized skin cells responsible for hair growth, and a recent study examined whether ointments containing highly purified bear oil from Asiatic black bear versus Tibetanus. Oh, I don't say that one often enough. Could stimulate hair growth in lab mice. So the researchers reported increased growth as well as hair length and weight in the treated mice. And so, man, Jen Ballard's column in the magazine has become one of my. I look forward to it every time because I never know what she's going to write about, and I always learn something. And it's like a kid at Christmas sometimes getting that article in.
Yeah, it's fun. Now I got this patchy beard. I got some patches.
Yeah.
I don't need a full head of hair. I just need some bear grease to just give me that full man beard that I've been
I should try that. I have made bear oil before from bear grease. It's simple and it's like, I think there's only 2 ingredients and it's like equal parts. I have to go back and look, but yeah.
I did that my first one. It's funny. That's the one funny thing about bear hunting is, I mean, the first time I did it, especially, I've been thinking back how much I just was blown away by. You just use a lot of the bear. Like for a deer, you're not cutting up the fat, rendering it down and cooking with it for a year and a half. And, I don't have a whole lot of deer rugs on my wall, along with the skull and the meat, so it is just funny. And bears, the more I hunt them, the more I really just love them. And the more I want to keep doing it. It's just an adventure. It's cool. And part of it is, I've noticed, is like you can post a picture of a bear online that you harvested. And because it doesn't have antlers, people just assume it's a giant every single time. Like every time I post a bear, someone will be like, it's a giant. And I'll be like, actually, it wasn't that big at all. But
Nobody shows off and grows their animals better than bear hunters taking pictures.
Oh man.
It's, like that quintessential sit way behind it, and take a picture. Get the head. Well, and that's one of the things is whenever I take pictures with bears, I try to get up on them as much as possible. The the first, like, I can remember an outfitter having me do the sit behind thing, like for the first time.
Yeah.
And after that, I was like, no, I need to be up on it. I ain't scared of it. Even like sometimes it's like you feel like guys are kind of scared to get in front or up on the bear even after it's dead.
Oh, I
But
believe it. Well, it's like
back
you
behind it.
Yeah, you see people like when they walk up to a deer, especially if they're new, they're just like kind of hesitant. And I would imagine for a bear, you feel that way a little bit. I'm sure I did for the first time. I can't remember back, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, bear hunting, a unique culture, unique place in American history, and just a unique animal. It's just, I love them. I love bears.
Yeah.
I love to hunt them. I like you get into like January, February time, and I think about them all the time.
Yeah, man, and the cool thing about bears is like they're spreading. Like we're seeing new seasons being established in different states. I mean, really just down here in the South. But I mean, they're growing and thriving. We had Missouri 2 or 3 years ago had their first bear season. Louisiana had their first season this last season, and we wrote about that bear in the upcoming issue of the magazine. The biggest one killed was a 696-pound just giant, and he green scored 21 and 10/16, and so he made all-time BNA or all-time BNC. But there was a younger guy, like a kid that drew a tag, and he killed one that had a 21 and 14/16 skull. Well, I must have had a 22-inch skull on a black bear. I mean,
That's a huge bear.
yeah, I mean, like, those bears are thriving down there, inside of Louisiana, and hopefully there's a movement there's a bill introduced to hopefully get, bear hunting season up in Connecticut because of all of the problems that they're having with bears entering homes. Like there's a movement from, there's legislation that's trying to move, and that's a really hard state to see anything come into being. But it's like at least these things are starting to come up and surface as, I think that's a good indicator of this is something that's needed because a deer's not going to come and get in your house. Like they'll ruin your flower garden, but it's like bears, you let them get overpopulated, they're pushing into whatever's gonna be successful for them inside
yeah.
of, and
They do
they're
great with urban sprawl.
yeah, yeah, they'll find a way.
Yeah,
And
they're like they love. I feel like even there's all this global climate change or whatever. They seem to love it. I don't know. Like
yeah,
they've grown a ton of bear
yeah,
numbers, and they do mix kind of. They figure out a way to mix with people fairly effectively.
yeah, they're super adaptable. I mean, even in the design of a bear and like what we know that they eat and everything now, you just see the highly like adaptability of them because we call it the MVP of bear sign, bear scat, because you can go in there, you can look through it, and you can tell what that bear's been eating based upon its scat. The reason for that is they have a carnivorous gut. So like their gut is not designed for the majority of what they eat now. Their gut, like they have a very short gut and it's designed for animal matter, like I mean, in last time I heard the stats, I mean, black bears typical yearly, what they think they eat is only about 15% animal matter, and the majority of that's insects. And so you're talking about an animal who physiologically is designed to really hone in on carrion, like I mean, pretty much nowadays, the only thing that they're gonna be taking down most of the time are gonna be fawns before they can get on their feet and run. Um,
Yeah.
but other than that, like a bear's just gonna be opportunistic, and then other than that, it's gonna be honing in on stuff that his body's not even designed for. And
I love that about bears. That's just awesome
yeah,
that they even do that.
yeah, that's why you can see all that sign in, whenever they, that in their excrement is because they're not designed to eat those things, but they thrive on it. They've adapted.
Yeah,
And
you'll see like chunks of stuff in their poop.
Oh man, here like before season starts, about August, a lot of times they're eating cherries, and you go out there and you find just nothing but cherry pits. It looks like just a cancerous mass of cherry pits whenever you find their scat during that time, and
Like Johnny Appleseed, but they're just
yeah.
spreading cherries.
Yeah, they're kind of like, it's funny that they you equate like bears to honey, and like honeybees spreading pollen and pollinating and moving stuff back and forth, and bears are just out there spreading seeds and everything that they ate throughout the forest.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
so fun.
Yeah.
Such a cool thing. It's weirdly enough, the only bear hunt I haven't done is the baited bear hunt.
Really?
Oh no,
Huh.
I haven't been successful on.
Yeah.
I've done one baited bear hunt with my recurve, and it was a rough go. I didn't find
Yeah.
a great outfitter, and it was just bad
Yeah.
bear territory.
Well, like, here's the thing is, it's good that you brought that up, because there's a common misconception that you can just go throw a donut out
Mhm.
and get bears on it, and it's not the case. A bear, so man, sorry, I can go every which way.
Yeah, yeah. I see. Yeah,
But
go for it.
uh, but inside of a baited scenario, you have to be selective on the space that you're going into, and you have to do it for several years to even see if it's a feasible spot
Mhm.
for success. Because you can have a bait that's firing on all cylinders one year, and then the next year hardly get anything, and it's all because of what food's available in the forest. And so if you have a good mass crop, if you have like good stuff coming off everywhere, typically on a wet year, you have a hard time competing with that natural food for um with the bears. Like, they're just not going to come for us for something sweet or corn or anything when they have all
They don't need it.
this natural food, because there's not really, their nutrition's not. I mean, corn's just kind of like, they don't really process it that much.
No, it comes
They'll
out yellow.
yeah, yeah, it comes out the way it went in most of the times, with a little bit of additives, and so like, they're gonna go for the natural food. And what we found too is one of the hardest things to overcome inside of where when our season hits is if we had a dry year, which typically on a bait, a dry year is good, but it depends on how long of a drought you have and what it does to the mass crop. And so what we've seen, especially last year, we had a really dry, long period of time, and the trees were stressed, and so whenever the acorns were put off, they just dropped them all at once. Like, it wasn't like you had like a slow, like, they just drop as they get ripe. Like, they just, like, it's like they just dumped it. And whenever you have that, it wasn't even that you were finding them at different elevations. So a lot of times you'll find good acorns at a particular elevation band or a particular area. They were just everywhere. And so they go to wherever they want to go.
And because they're not on a schedule and they're not on a routine, they just go.
And they're not worried about going down the same path that keeps them safe. That, like, if you think about hunting an ungulate or some sort of prey animal, they want to stay in areas that they know are safe, that they can have good sight. They want spaces where they can evade and all this stuff. A bear doesn't have that many. I mean, really, here they have no predators other than other bears. Where we're at, I mean, you get into areas up in the west where grizz will predate on black bears. You'll have wolves and stuff like that. But just a black bear in a territory that doesn't have any predators, they don't care. Like, they just go meander where they want, where they will. And a lot of times you have to go after the water. I mean, like, a lot of times that's the limiting factor. Like, that's the natural funnel a lot of times that you'll find inside of black bear hunting is, and they can drink from anything. So, I mean, but if you find, like, if you get away from where most people are going to hunt, you find a small pond that's, typically got some cover. And, you know, we like to hunt the tops of ridges, and then, maybe a saddle or something.
Yep.
But it's tough.
It's tough. Well, and it's tough. And it's like, how many people, and do you know where they're getting photos up to bear season of bears on their bait, and then they go sit out there and nothing shows up for 2 weeks, and then the season's over, you know?
I got more photos and videos from I found a secluded pond. I put some of our cameras up on it, and out of 17 days, I had multiple bears 15 of those days on that camera.
Really?
And that was better than I got from our, our baits after season started. I actually went and sat that pond and passed up a bear like on public. So right now I'm 100%. It's like
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I think if I go tonight, I think I'll have an opportunity. And he came broadside at 17 yards, and I was like, I just want to watch him. And it was cool. He got out there in that pond and swam around, and I was like, golly, I'm glad I didn't shoot him. Like, that was such a cool experience,
Yeah, I mean, they do, like we said, they do so many cool things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know. I just wanted you on to it seems like all we're doing is talking about how cool bears are, but basically that's what I think. So
Yeah.
whoever's listening, deal with it. Like,
Yeah.
they're a cool animal. They're worth hunting.
Yeah.
They're fun to hunt. They're valuable. And they're delicious. They're so good to eat.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, and if we want to talk about something else some other time, we keep it more
get more in detailed.
Yeah.
But I figured, who better to celebrate bear season coming up here than the man himself behind the Bear Hunter magazine. So, I mean, print media, how is it doing? Is it alive and well?
We've been pretty consistent the whole time on the amount of people subscribing. I think that's something that we're looking at of like, how do we grow subscribers? I think it's just going and seeing people, meeting them where they are. And so those are things that we're considering, but the people that do subscribe, they're really bought in and in on it. And we're starting to put more DIY stuff. We're starting to put more articles about gear, which we haven't really done a lot in the past. And just trying to meet everybody like where they are inside of the public considering, but the people that do subscribe, they're really bought in and in on it. And we're starting to put more DIY stuff. We're starting to put more articles about gear, which we haven't really done a lot in the past. And just trying to meet everybody like where they are inside of the publication itself. We're trying to give such a variety, but also stuff that really is like tight and succinct, so that whoever picks it up will be able to,
something
really,
that applies.
Yeah. I mean, we have people that go in and we design it in a way to where it's kind of like art in a way where you go through and it's like visually it's something that is, you would really like to look at, but then also we really pack the words in. And if you are the type that wants to read cover to cover, it's like there's a lot of content inside of it that way as well.
When did Bear Hunting Magazine, when did this begin?
It was established in the year 2000.
Okay.
By a guy named Jeff Folsom. He's out of, I think, Minnesota.
Yeah.
And but we also include a recipe in every issue too.
Nice.
So, yeah, and so I mean that's what the January February issue. And anyways, we do what we can.
Yeah, dude. You want to know a good recipe while I have you here?
Yeah.
This is a Jared. We call it barbacoa. I think I've on the podcast before.
I'm already for it.
Yeah, you just take a whole shoulder. Usually now when I shoot bears, this is basically what I do. I keep all the quarters.
Yeah.
Whatever I didn't mess up with my rifle or bow or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'll do them like on my smoker in a big pan with just onions and peppers. And I throw, like, you could do a beer in there. You can do apple cider vinegar or whatever, some kind of acid.
Yeah.
Some oil, and you just leave it in there forever until the bone comes out white and clean. Everything peels off.
Yeah.
You shred it and you throw it on tacos. I started doing that with bear meat, and now I just do it with deer too. Like I'll do whole deer quarters that way. The bacoa, the bear or deer bacoa is definitely the way to go.
We'll have to do an article over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like, we'll have something like this, every issue.
Oh yeah, look at that. Oh man, yeah, dude, eating it. Yeah, like oddly enough, I've got a wife and a daughter. That is their favorite wild game meat that I'll bring down is bear.
Yeah.
They didn't grow. I mean, my daughter did, but my wife didn't grow up eating wild game.
Yeah.
It's just her favorite.
Yeah, same. My wife loves, we just ended up, we grind most of it up because we're like fast everyday cookers.
Oh yeah.
But I've never, I feel like ashamed of this, but I don't own a smoker, and that's something I need to change.
Man, I feel
I'm
like
not
in
living
order
the
to do
dream.
your job, you need.
I know, man. Golly. I mean, it's in the name, Smokey the Bear.
No,
What are
right.
you doing?
It's meant to be smoked and eaten.
Yeah.
So, what we've gotten into the grinding thing too, and what we've been doing a lot is, I started with doing ground meat, and I would just, do like treat it like burgers, cook it a bunch of different ways. Then we got into like, well, let's put some spices in there. We'll, dress it up a little bit. Then we got into, the tube meats because you gotta put it in some sort of sausage or brat.
Mm-hmm.
And so the brat game in my house,
It's
we
strong.
eat like 3 or 4 days a week. We eat sausages or brats from wild game.
Yeah.
It's so easy to do. It takes for the mistake I made this year was like, so I did this mountain lion hunt. I had a mountain lion in my freezer and like 2 or 3 deer. And I'm like, I'm just gonna grind them all at once. I'm gonna stuff sausage. I'll do all this in one day and just get it out of the way.
Yeah.
And it was like a 10-hour deal. I threw out my back from it. It was just like I was a disaster afterwards.
How are you putting the everything into those casings?
So I'll do the grind. I'll grind it with fat, just a typical way. Then I'll grind it again thinner. I'll do the thick.
The thick plate, then go down to the thin plate. Yeah.
Yep. And then
Gotcha.
I'll just and then you throw the tube on the sausage tube.
Yeah.
And it basically goes on the grinder, and then you just it's me and my wife will do it at the same time. So I'll grind and she'll tube because it's hard to do at once.
I got you. Here's the secret sauce, because I've done this before too.
Okay.
You actually buy a stuffer. Like on the grinder, it's so slow going into the casing that it will wear you out. Yeah. And so buy an actual stuffer. They sell them. They're usually stainless steel.
Oh yeah.
Get them I bought mine at Cabela's like 2016, 2017. And you will find that will change your grind game. That'll change your, like, and as far as like casings, like you can put those same tubes typically on that, and then you get the casing wet, you put it on there, and you hand crank it, and it is so fast. And it'll change.
Where were you?
It'll change your life, man. Like it'll change the game for you.
I am looking at. I just
It'll save your back.
Yeah. It'll save my. It's right here. It's like this spot that.
Yeah.
I was like laid up. Like I'm like I can't. My back hurts so bad. It's too old for this.
And I've learned that I have to do everything to save my back. Not like I have a bad back, but just to save that being worn from bending over and stuff. Like I started using like bar height tables and stuff.
Yep.
Whenever I do something.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. My kitchen island has been my go-to for that.
So I've got this desk here behind me, and I put a mechanical. So like standing desks are all the rage, right?
Oh yeah.
So you can buy a mechanical thing to put a platform on, and you can raise it to the height that's comfortable for you. And so that's been a game changer for us too. Like just being able to get things to the working height that you need. And it in the end, like the more, so like not that we're always chasing comfort, but we're trying to make sure that we are in a position to where we can continue doing the things that we like as long as we like, but then also like we don't want it to take up so much of our time and be something that we're looking ahead and it's like, man, I really want to do this, but golly, my back, like,
can't do it to me.
Yeah, get rid of those obstacles in the way, not from a sense of comfort, but from a sense of like longevity and effectiveness. It's like so many of us, like, this old dude, and he's like, just like the benefit was toughing it out. And I don't think that's the way. I think working smarter, not harder, is something that will give you the ability to expend like your well, for one, the quickness that you get on a task.
Oh, yeah.
I think, it's like if you have anything that's like that's a negative at doing something that's outdoor related, man, take it away, because it'd be better to like go for it and not tough it out, to be able to do it,
I'm terrible I'm a glutton for punishment for whatever reason. And it's like, it's not like I'm not doing it right if it doesn't hurt really bad. And as I, enter into, and I'm not quite into my late 30s yet, but I'm adjacent.
Yeah,
I'm learning.
I'm right there with you.
It's like, dang, dude, what are you doing, man? Just take it easy on that old body of yours, It's so anyways, well, hey, Kolby, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man.
Like I said, we'll have to do this again. More bear stuff coming up. One of our guys is headed out. Joe is headed out to do a grizzly hunt this spring, summer, fall. And so, we'll be doing a lot more bear stuff. And I got to figure out what my bear.
Write some articles
here. Yeah, that's right. Hey, write some
photos
in.
Yeah, no, send them over.
Cool. Well, where can people find you?
Just www.bear-hunting.com. If you go to bearhuntingmagazine.com, it'll take you to the same place. And then we're on Instagram, Bear Hunting Mag, and you can find us on Facebook too. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it. Everybody go check them out. Bear hunters need to stand strong and keep this amazing culture and tradition alive that's been around for a long time, and it's really important, especially in the hunting community. It's the first thing anti-hunters go after, and it's incredibly important to manage bear populations when you're looking at wildlife management generally. And so I know there's a lot of hate out there. Don't listen to it. Try it out for yourself. You'll be like me, and you'll end up loving it. So, Kolby, thanks again. Everybody, we'll see you next week.